What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast 412, Fight for Purity. A bold way of looking at challenges that young people are facing. We'll talk about the naked truth of life and how to handle the problems you're thinking but not talking about. So strap in, get ready for another great podcast.
This podcast episode is not considered age appropriate due to discussion of drugs and alcohol and other sensitive topics. Parent or guardian discretion is advised. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So we're back again, and we're going to be talking about taste today. And you're like, taste? Yeah. So, and I think kind of where we're going to go with this is just kind of talk about like how the things that are bad for you that you taste, you know. And so basically drugs, alcohol, just things that are like, you know, are a negative impact in our lives. So I know for me, like, same thing, I guess, just, you know, the background. I grew up without a dad. I grew up, you know, without like that father figure. And so I got started, you know, really early just experimenting with alcohol. And I know for me, one of the reasons, I think one of the first reasons I did stuff like that was peer pressure. Because everybody around me was doing it. And so for me, it was just peer pressure, you know. And kind of the thing that we've been talking about is, you know, was boundaries. You know, I didn't really have, you know, I had some boundaries with some things, but, you know, there was really no boundaries, you know. And so when the pressure came, you know, I just kind of gave into it. Not because I had, like, this desire to want to know, like, what it tasted like or, you know, what it was like. It was just mostly for me was peer pressure. And so I just kind of continued on that track, you know. But eventually it became something that I did because, you know, just to kind of hide what was going on in my life at home, you know, just how empty I was and how lonely I was, you know, and so it provided like an outlet, you know. It didn't solve anything, you know, and one of the things looking back that I realized I made a lot of really stupid mistakes when I did stuff like that, you know, because, you know, when you drink or you do drugs, you know, it impairs your judgment. You have no judgment. You have no boundaries. You have, like, nothing. You know, you can't make right decisions, you know, because you're just in this state of being dumb, you know. You're just dumb, you know, because, you know, you're not in a place where you can think, you know, where you can think things through. And so it's just like a spiral, you know, and it just, you know, it doesn't do anything really. It just makes you dumb. That's the best I can sum it up is just, you're just dumb. Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't add anything to your life. It doesn't, you know, you might have a feeling of feeling good for a little bit, but eventually, you know, you wake up, you know. And I remember, I think one thing I remember specifically was I would wake up really angry. Like I just had all this anger and I didn't know, like, nothing like particularly happened to me. I would just wake up very angry, you know. Every weekend I was just angry and I couldn't pinpoint like what it was, you know, but it was because I was bearing all these things that were going on in my life, and so that just built anger inside of me. So I was really angry, I think. And so I think that's how it affected me in a negative way. I didn't have to deal with my problems when I engaged in, you know, doing drugs or alcohol. You know, I didn't have to deal with anything, you know. I just could be dumb and wake up and be angry and then do it again the next weekend, you know, and be dumb again and then be angry. But nothing was being solved. So I know that was my experience. So.
Yeah, I think the first time I actually drank, I was like 5 or, I don't know, I think about 5. But that's because my parents drank and they had parties all the time. And so there's always alcohol. I think that night my dad came into the room to talk to us about whatever, you know, because they were all drinking. And then he left his beer can there. And so then my sisters dared me. You know, they're older. I'm the youngest of them. And they dared me to drink it. So I drank it. So I had my first drink of beer around 5 years old. And I still remember where I was at and stuff. And I don't know. So it was always around. You know, everyone in my family drank. Like, I grew up with a whole family of drinkers. And so then when I got older, I would drink, you know, all the time. I think in middle school I started drinking more. And then if you guys have watched before, I had talked kind of about my past. And that, like how you said, to bury everything. Yeah. I just buried everything with alcohol. I liked the way I felt when I drank it, you know, because carefree, you know, there's like the problems are still there, but in that moment they weren't there. And so one of the times when I had backslid, which is leaving God, I was serving God. When I left again, I kind of got into a habit of drinking every night, and so that I think it was from leaving God and knowing what I had. Maybe if I'm thinking back at it, it's like knowing what I had and where I was at, and how I had just like messed myself up all over again. And then everything from my past of growing up, it was all still there. I just didn't have anything else to help me deal with it except drinking. Or I felt, like I just drink and I would feel loopy and good. And even when I would go out with friends, I was drinking all the time. Anytime I can take my daughter to her grandma's, I would go drink because I didn't want her to be around it. I mean, it's not good for you, so I didn't want her to be around it. I didn't want her to see that because, well, I know it's bad. It's bad. And I would do stupid stuff too. I would drive drunk. I'm surprised I didn't kill us multiple times that I drove drunk, and I know I always wanted to be home. I didn't want to be in a position where I was around a bunch of other drunks or be in these houses and these house parties with these people because I didn't feel safe. And so I always wanted to just go home. So whether I was drinking or not, I drove. And I put myself in danger. I put others in danger, and then I always wanted to portray like I'm just this fun drunk. I just have so much fun. I'm all these things that maybe I didn't feel I was, and being sober, I had all these issues sober. And so, like when I had left God, I just drank all the time. And I would put my daughter to sleep and then I would go drink. I would see who I could drink with and find people to party with. And I knew exactly who to link up with, after I had left church. I knew exactly who I could call to go drink with. I knew, these people party all the time. And I know if I can call them, they're going to have a party to go to and I can go to that. And then at the end of the day, like I would wake up regretting decisions I made or like, dang, like, that was really stupid of me, or not even remembering stuff the night before and waking up and not knowing like how I got in the position I was in, or, or like not even knowing what I did the night before was kind of like a regret, and I always just played it off like it's just fun. I'm just having fun, but like I hated my life, and so, then going on with taste two, with even smoking weed, I didn't particularly like it, but I liked that I could go to sleep on it because I hated the feeling so much. So I just forced myself to sleep every time I would get high, and then everyone else around you is doing it. Everyone else is, I don't know, I mean, I would assume I was miserable and maybe they were as well, and everyone's just drinking, and in that time you're just having fun,
suppressing those emotions.
Suppressing all those childhood troubles.
Yeah. I think you lie to yourself too, though. You know what I mean? Like you want to like, I guess almost kind of like fit in with everybody, and you kind of, but I mean you don't. You know what I mean? Like your life is still what it is. I think the one common thread, at least with us, is I didn't have a dad, and so I was always like searching for something like to just fill that void that I had from not having a dad around.
And that like acceptance too, because I think a lot of it has to do with like rejection. You don't want it, like you're rejected from that paternal parent that should be there, but isn't. So you're going and looking for that in other people, whether it be men, women, like it's as friendships, you're like, well, I don't want them to reject me because they're my friends, so I'm just gonna go along with what they're doing.
And you're looking for like something like to like make you happy, and you look at them and it looks like they're happy.
Looks like
I mean, I'm sure if everyone looked at me, they would have thought I was so happy, and I'm just like this fun drunk, and it's just a fun time, And I had my dad up until 5, but I didn't really have my dad. Not until
he was
5.
there, but not there.
13, I lied to you guys. I was 11 or something. I stopped kind of going around him, but he was still drinking like heavily and stuff. And so like I had a dad, but he wasn't particularly present. So you can have a parent there, but not presently there, all the time.
Yeah, and I guess seeing the other side, like, because I never did that, but like just listening, what I hear is you left your daughter at your mom's, which means you weren't weren't taking care of her at that time. You're drunk driving. You, like you said, you endangered other people, and you say you don't remember. And like, how many stories do we hear nowadays of women being like hurt and attacked because they're impaired by
Well, it leaves you vulnerable.
it leaves you vulnerable because like you said earlier, like it impairs your judgment. You're not thinking about your own safety or anybody else's safety. And you hear the stories about kids, you know, like all the house parties, you know, and everything when you're in high school. But what happens when somebody drinks too much or takes too much? Like from firsthand experience, what happened to the kids who did too much while you guys were at parties? What would happen to them?
Yeah, and I had a friend, I was out and they were drinking a lot, and I came in, they were like drunk beyond belief, and there was two of them that were kind of throwing up, and it freaked me out. I wasn't, I don't know if I drank that night, but I wasn't drunk, you know. I started to become a functioning alcoholic because I drank so much, you know, and so you kind of become alcohol intolerant, I guess. Right? Is that what I'm looking for? But anyways, so I wasn't impaired fully, but when I went there, my reaction was like, gosh, my friend could like die, you know, and I need to get her to a hospital. And so like that was my reaction. And when I'm telling them we need to get them to a hospital because they could have alcohol poisoning and die. And the other girls didn't want to do that because they didn't want to get in trouble. So it was like, I mean, just being selfish, you know, like the selfishness of, you know, when you're kind of in that lifestyle and it's like you kind of just think about yourself. And luckily the girl was okay, but they didn't take her to a hospital. My friend, they had to pump the alcohol out of her. So I don't know if she would have survived or not, you know, not to say that she wouldn't. She drank a lot too, but she was like little, you know, so I don't know how much her body could handle. But like the other girl, they didn't take her because they didn't want to get in trouble, and she could have died, you know. Luckily she didn't. So I mean, it just yeah.
And like, so like it, although they, like, you know, luckily in that situation they didn't die, but like I remember going to a rave and finding out that there was this 16-year-old girl who died because she took too much. But because of the drug that they took, they didn't want to get in trouble for having the possession of it. Yeah. So like they risked her life and she ended up losing her life. You know, parents ended up losing their daughter because their friends, well, they decided to be irresponsible. And you're not responsible when you're intoxicated. Yeah. So like, you know, this little girl, she lost her life because her friends decided to be selfish. Yeah. Like she said, like, because they didn't want to get in trouble. They don't want to have to suffer the consequences. But now pretty much you can say like her blood is on their hands.
Yeah.
Is in a way of like.
Yeah, and nobody talks about that. How like in our last episode we said that we're selfish people. Yeah. When you're doing drugs and you're doing alcohol, you're not thinking about anybody. You're only thinking about yourself, which means that nobody else is thinking about your safety. If you're the one who happens to be in a vulnerable position, for the most part, if they're all underage, like you probably are, they're not going to help you out. Even if you aren't underage and you're older, sometimes they're like, you see pictures, you know, people like taking funny poses and stuff. Like nobody's thinking about the fact that they might not wake up, you know. Yeah. Nobody's thinking about that. And you said earlier, like alcohol poisoning. Yeah, it's a key word there, poison. Yeah. You know, it's not good for your body, but people do it anyways because they think it's fun. It's just what everybody does. Yeah. But it's like you said, you're burying stuff. You're not dealing with stuff, or it's just making things worse because you're burying it, but then you're creating an addiction for yourself.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I detect the disconnect, the voice inflections give directions, but when I listen, inhibitions, my intentions got me wishing it was different. I be tripping over 2 left feet, the path laid for me. Ooh, that's me. I keep straying from it. Help me, I help myself. I tell myself, don't sell myself short. The cellular sort that can't connect. Call God, but I call collect.
And then whatever boundaries I had, I no longer had at all. You know, I would make stupid decisions that, I mean, you can't take back the decisions you make. You can't take back words that you say. Like when you are impaired and you make decisions, like you just can't take them back. You know, I remember being in a situation, I don't know if this is kind of heavy, but I remember being in a situation where I was drinking with somebody else, and I made a decision to do something because I was afraid of their intoxication, like kind of taking over them, and I didn't want to have like a mindset. I don't know if it's heavy or if I should wait to talk about it, but it's just the effects of other people, you know, like you can't control other people. Yeah. And I'll kind of save it for later because it's kind of heavy, but I like you can't control others. You know, if you don't have no boundaries and you can't control yourself, you can't control what others are going to do. And you don't know what issues that they have and that they're facing and how it affects them when they're drinking. You know, I've seen family members, my mom, she had gotten beat by one of her boyfriends one night, and he was, when he would drink, he was an angry drunk, and he was a violent drunk, you know, and I had talked about it before, like, I have scars from him. It's the same guy, you know, like, so, like, you can't control the actions of others, let alone your own self. So, like, you put yourself in danger, you know, and you never know, like, what's in stuff. I remember we had talked about, like, you had smoked with someone and it was laced with stuff. Like, you don't know what people are giving you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you are putting yourself in a danger. I remember one time, like, well, here especially in Albuquerque, I remember driving by on, I think I was on Gibson or Yale, I can't remember. But I remember seeing this girl on the corner. She's like, she's wasted. She's walking around, and you could tell, like, she was out of it. I mean, and I don't know who left her there. I don't know how she got there. And I felt so bad because you could just tell she's just like lost. She's walking around like lost. And, you know, that's how you are when you're under the influence, you know, you're like lost, you know, and I felt bad. You know, I turned my car around 'cause I thought, you know, somebody's gonna like hurt this girl, because you could tell she didn't know where she was. She didn't know, like, anybody could have come and just picked her up and taken her. It was so bad. And so I went back and I picked her up, and I asked her where she lived, and she was like, you know, and I just felt so bad for her, you know, but, you know, the world makes it look like, you know, our society makes it look like it's this, you know, fun thing, you know. That was, you know,
Well,
It was
watch
dangerous.
TV
It was-
shows,
yeah, it was
movies, they're like,
terrible.
oh, well, they're having a good time.
yeah, and everybody's passing by, cars are driving by, and then she's just on the corner. She's like laying down, she's sitting up, she's like, and I took her home, and you know, thank goodness, like, she knew where home was, because I've done that a few times with people, and they're like taking me in circles, you know, because they don't know where they're at, and they don't know where home's at. I think it's in this corner. I think it's over here. But I took her home, took her to her, I think her sisters or her somebody, you know, and just talking to them for a short while, you could tell that it was something that was an issue in her life, you know. But it was so sad because she was so young, you know. But when you're in that place, you don't even see yourself. You don't see how, like,
and I
lost.
thought it was so fun. You know, I don't know what you guys,
Yeah,
like, if
'cause-
you've seen people drunk and stuff. You know?
Well, yes, but from my end, because same thing, I was never like really involved in that scene. Like, I knew people and everything, but the biggest thing when I would see whether high or drunk, I would usually felt really bad for them, because in my eyes, to me, that showed that you hate your reality so much that you'd rather be high and drunk and literally disconnected from reality. If that's the only time that you're happy, or the only time you feel free, or the only time you feel confident, or the only time you feel accepted, it made me so sad that was the only time they felt okay, I guess, and that they were some quote unquote happy was when they were not connected to reality. And it made me sad because I know a lot of people tell me, like, a lot of people agree with the drunk part, you know, because there's so many stories of people getting hurt, of people this, but nobody talks about the weed. It talks about everyone's saying, like, you know, oh, it just makes me feel good. It helps me, you know, relax when I'm tensed up.
I just get really hungry.
Yeah, you know, like somehow it's not, I guess, dangerous either. But for me, I've seen it where, you know, some people, they're like, it's not a gateway drug, and it is a gateway drug, because eventually that high won't be enough for you, and so you're gonna look for something else that gives you a better high, and then there are some people, well, all I do is just smoke weed. Just smoke weed, smoke weed, smoke weed, smoke weed. And to me, that's sad as well, because you're just in a cloud all day long, and you don't remember much, and you don't like you're here, but you're not here.
Yeah, you're like I don't know.
Lifeless, pretty much.
Yeah,
You're just
like
kinda
numb,
just-
like
Yeah, you don't care, I think.
yeah, and
yeah.
it's so sad. Like, when I see, like, especially like people that I know, I'm like, they constantly get high, and I'm like, why are you getting high? There's no need for that. I'm like, I'm right here. See me, I'm right here. Like I'm talking to you. And like it's just so sad. Like you want to like connect to them and you want to be there for them, but they're like
So absent-minded.
so absent-minded. Like, and they think that it's gonna like. I know the reason why they get high is because there's issues, deeper issues, heart issues, mind issues that they don't want to deal with, so they'd rather be high. Whether it's guilt, whether it's regret, whether it's trauma, whatever the case may be, that's why they're constantly high, is because they don't want to face it. But no one wants to talk about that.
And it's addictive. And to say, because some people are like, well, I can quit, you know, but even my own experience, like before we got saved, my husband smoked weed a lot, and he would spend our money before we had it to get high, because like you want to get more high, and you want to get high all day long because you want to feel like that, you know. And I didn't like the feeling. I did it so I could go to sleep, but some people like they like thrive off of it, you know, and they're like, I can function, but it's like
But it's not true.
Yeah, I mean,
you think you can.
Yeah.
You know, I work better, or but it's not. But
I'm more patient.
Yeah.
I'm
But
a better person.
When they're off of it, they're irritated and they're angry and they're
You know,
you
can't. And I think you said it like, you know, where you don't want to live in reality, because reality, you know,
Sucks for you.
Yeah,
Or it's
for
hard.
you, or
Yeah.
you have to fight through things, and you don't want to fight. You know, you have to feel, and you don't want to feel. Yeah.
People don't want to put in that work.
Yeah, you don't want to feel, and it's better to just not feel. You know, if I don't feel, well, then I don't worry about it. Yeah. You know, but I mean, reality is like, you have to, you know, if you're going to get through and overcome things and, you know, then you have to, you know, you got to live in reality, you know, so. And sometimes it's a little harder, but it's better. It makes you a better person, you know, builds character in your life, you know. If you're just high all the time, you're not growing. You're just, you're staying like, what is it? Peter Pan? Yeah, you never grow up, you know, because then you don't have to grow up when you're high all the time. You don't have to grow up. You can live in this fantasy world that does not exist.
But even with like cigarettes too, like it may not give you like that high, but like you're still trying to cope with something through something that has all these like toxins in it. Like
Or
you're
vapes.
still vapes. Vapes is a big thing. Yeah. But like either way, it's all just because it's legal
Right.
doesn't mean
Right. Yeah.
it's moral.
Yeah. And when we come back, sorry, we have to cut ourselves off. When we come back, we'll talk more about the whole coping thing as far as it like comes to taste and what you should and shouldn't be doing and how to set up boundaries and a little bit more than that. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for part 2. You can contact us through Instagram at podcast412 or email us at 412fight@gmail.com. See you next time.